Okay. Everyone take cover. Get down.
He's shooting.
Okay. Is anybody hit?
No, he's trying to open the door. Can you please
Okay.
send
Yes, the
help, please?
officer point in the area. I need you to stay down. Did any bullets hit through the house at all, or hit anybody?
Yes. No, nobody. No, there's nobody here, but we have kids. So
Okay.
can you please send
I
help?
understand the officers are pointing in the area. Do you know what vehicle he arrived in?
He's driving a Chevy, red Chevy.
Red Chevy?
No, he's not driving out. He's outside.
Okay. I need you to answer my questions. Is he taking off in the vehicle?
No, he's not.
Okay. What kind of vehicle does he drive?
He drives a red Chevy Silverado.
Is he outside?
He's in the house.
He's in the house?
Yeah, he's in the house. Please hurry up.
Okay. Do you see the gun? Did he just shoot somebody? Was somebody just shot? And what's going on?
He's in my room.
Okay. Was anybody shot once he entered the house?
No, my husband is trying to calm me down.
Okay,
Please.
I understand. Yes, the officers are going in. But I
Hurry up,
understand
oh
it's
my
not
God. Please, he has a gun.
I understand he has a gun. Where is he at in the house?
He's in the bathroom.
In the bathroom? Did he
Yes.
take anyone in the bathroom with him?
No, I think my niece.
He took your niece into the bathroom?
He's looking for my niece.
Okay,
Hurry
he
up,
hasn't.
please.
I understand the officers are coming in the
Hurry
area.
up.
I need everybody to get
Hurry up.
out of the house.
Yeah.
Get out of the house. I need everybody to get out of the house, grab your kids and leave. What did you say?
My kids are in the bedroom.
Grab your kids, get out of the house.
Now it ends there. Those last shots you hear would be the officers who have responded. You'll have an opportunity to see that in the body cams. The individual who was at the house is Luis Sandoval. He had lived at that house. He had been actually, as you can hear, the 911 caller talk about, he had been married to the caller's niece who also lived at the house. You heard in the 911 call talk about papers, PPO papers. The family had obtained PPO papers that day, just obtained them. They had not actually been filled out or served. So we don't know why he was there, quite frankly. He had been moved out of the house about a week prior. This is a Ring doorbell video, a screenshot from that, but he had been at the house a week before, living there, had moved out. He had been at his brother's house earlier that day. Why he was there, what drove him to be there, this was actually the second time he was there that night. He had shown up earlier, tried to use the door code, but they had changed the door code. And then he had left and then come back at approximately 1 in the morning. As you can see, I got the shot because clearly he's got a firearm. You heard that firearm. There's some photos as well. You can see the shots through the door. You'll see it on the video, but there's a circular kind of oval window that he kind of kicked out, shot out, that allowed him to gain access to open up the door, unlock the door, and enter through the front door at that point in time. He had been in the house. As you can see, there's about a dozen people. These are some still shots from the body cam. The body cam really doesn't show a whole lot. You're gonna see the officer's reactions, but these were some freeze frames where you can see him actually inside the house, and that wall, especially the one on the right you see it the best, is where he had actually went into. One of the individuals, not this one here, he had been looking for the niece. The niece he had actually hid in an upstairs bedroom, kid's bedroom, and he had actually gone up there, and one of the individuals that runs out of the house, on the body cam you'll see with the 911 caller, lures him back downstairs because he was concerned about what he may do if he found her. And then this is about the time he comes around the corner, sees the police, and then ducks behind that wall. And that's when, essentially after the people flee, is when he comes around and points the firearm, that weapon you saw him with earlier, at the officers. The civilians are at that about time leaving the house, running out of the house in fear, and that's when the officers decided to fire. The first body cam here is Officer Bourne's. He was that Officer Bournes and Rotman are the two officers that are first on scene. This is his body cam. He was kind of in the lead during this. As I said, it's chaotic. You'll hear, unfortunately, there's a car alarm. There's a truck car alarm. We're not sure. We're assuming the defendant somehow activated the car alarm before in the house, but that goes on through the entire time of this incident. But you have to see, this is Officer Bournes' body cam. He's really the first officer and the one that fires the initial shots. And
what did you say? Promise we might have a victim. Promise we might have a victim.
he's talking to dispatch. He's got an earpiece so you can't hear, so it's not just, that's where you hear there's a dispatch is relaying some of this information to him.
Show me your hands! Show me your hands! Show me your hands! Show me your hands! Do it now! Walk outside! Walk outside! Take him in custody. Put him in custody. Who else is inside? Let me see your hands! Show me your hands! Show me your hands! Step outside! Black shirt? See him a black shirt? Yeah. Do you have a gun? Yeah, I have a gun. Back up, back up. Yeah, move. You guys gotta get back. So just back up. Walk outside, walk outside. Outside, outside. Move, move. Good. Shots fired. Shoot your hands! Hands!
This next one will be Officer Rotman. I cut it down a little bit more, but he's the officer right behind him.
Show your hands! Do it now! Show your hands! Do it now! Hands! What's your name?
My name is Victor.
Let me see your hands! Show me your hands! Hold that way. Step outside. Black shirt? See a black shirt? See a gun?
Yeah, I have a gun.
Back up.
Yeah.
You guys gotta get back. We got two people outside.
Walk outside. Outside. Shoot your head!
Yeah, I can pause it right there. Mr. Sandoval, I know you get that. That's a Halloween decoration. It kind of throws you off when you first watch it. That blue wall is actually the hallway door, or the hallway wall. If you go down that hallway, it's a very short hallway. There's a room. The 911 call was in that room. That door had been kicked in. There's photos of the door had been destroyed. They entered that room. He was found behind that wall. Actually, the officers, there's two shots that actually struck him by the officers. One hit him, and I believe it was the left ear, went through the ear, kind of an entrance wound in the inside, exit wound, went through the neck. That was not fatal. There was another wound on his side, just below his rib cage. It did cause internal injuries. The ME said that was not fatal. Essentially what killed Mr. Sandoval there was a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. There's a clear gunshot wound to the head over above his ear, and there's soot in the wound. The ME said that's clearly a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and he was dead on the stairs. It took them quite a bit to evacuate the house. They didn't approach because they saw him with the gun. They didn't know his condition at that point in time, and they still had a number of civilians. There were a number of kids still upstairs that actually had to walk down through the scene and kind of over Mr. Sandoval. So like I said, they had reasonable cause. This, when you're looking at self-defense, defense of others, both of these apply here. They have reasonable to believe the violent way he had acted leading up to that. As he comes around the corner, both officers indicate he's clearly pointing the gun towards them, whether it be when they're at the door or even Officer Rotman, when he's outside, sees the gun out towards the window. They don't have to wait for him to fire. From the investigation, it does not appear that he actually fired at the officers. There's 3 casings outside that indicate he clearly did fire into the house through that door at some point in time, and there's a single casing that was used to kill himself located in that hallway. So he didn't actually fire at the officers, but that's not required by the law. They just have to have a reasonable belief that they're in a danger of death or great bodily harm, whether they themselves or even the civilians, because as you see, those civilians are running out of the house at almost the exact same time when you hear gun, 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 and they fire those shots. So I think they acted appropriately and should be commended for how they responded, because clearly it's a chaotic scene with a very violent individual. To some extent, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and this is an example of how domestic violences can go bad. I don't know. We don't know what the intent was of Mr. Sandoval when he arrived there, but clearly he had a gun out and did a lot to break into a house and was looking for his niece. Everybody says he's looking at his niece. He put a gun to one of the residents, trying to get them to tell where his niece was. So you kind of surmise from that he did not have good intentions if he would have found her. And who knows what would have happened to the rest of the individuals in that home had the police not arrived and acted in the way they did. So that's why there are no criminal charges that will be filed against these officers, because I think they acted appropriately given all the facts and circumstances as they knew at the time when they entered that home. So that's my summation. Obviously, you'll have those on the flash drives. You can exactly as they appeared here. Open for any questions as well.
Was the niece in the home?
Pardon?
She
She was hiding upstairs. She went in the closet upstairs and was hiding in a child's closet upstairs when he entered the home. And that one of the 911, you couldn't see him. I actually kind of took him out, but one of the 911 caller, her daughter, and then there's a male that left the house. He was the one that lured Mr. Sandoval downstairs to kind of get him away, because obviously they were concerned of what happened.
So Mr. Sandoval, he was hit 3 times, but none of those were fatal. It was the gun.
2. He was hit by the
Twice.
officers twice, and then the 3rd shot was his own self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Do we know why he had a PPO?
There's some domestic violence. There's concerns of domestic violence prior, but there's the PPO was never. They got the paperwork to get one, but it was never served. They had just, when they hear on the 911 call, there's papers. From what we found out, they obtained the papers to fill it out, but he had never been served with one. They had not filled one out. They had just gotten the actual papers that day to have it served. And there's no evidence that he even knew. I mean, it's not. Maybe he did, but we can't tell from the evidence we have at this point in time.
Were any of the kids in the home his kids, do we know?
That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't believe so, but it's in the report, and I didn't note that so. There's a number of kids, and the 911 caller had 3 or 4 of them. So
I was going to say, how many were in the actual home?
there's 12. There's 12 individuals in that house. It's a very small house, but they got upstairs. They got a basement. The niece. So there's a lot of individuals. As you saw, there was 1, 2, 5 had come out. So there's still a number of individuals inside the house that took some time to get those. Very traumatic for the kids. Trying to watch. I watched the entire body cam and watching how they reacted. Remarkably well, quite frankly, given the circumstances. But it's a difficult situation for that family.
So he tried going to the home earlier in the day before this?
He did about 11:30, and actually they did a cop logic kind of a online, because he kind of showed up, punches the things, nothing happens, and he leaves. And so they just made a report on cop logic, didn't actually ask for a patrol vehicle, but they did make a report, and they kind of didn't seem that big of a deal at the time. He obviously they were obtaining a PPO, but there's nothing like this that I guess they could have assumed. You can hear from the 911 call. She's like, "Hey, he's here." But it's not like they're extremely terrified or worried. He had lived there and obviously had some issues, but I don't think they're expecting anything like this.
Who all did you speak with during the investigation?
I didn't speak with anybody. Basically, I worked through the sheriff's department, looking at their reports. They interviewed all the civilians. They, obtained statements. Both officers gave statements. Reviewed all the body cams. These are the main ones. But we had, obviously after this occurred, there was a number of other officers that responded on scene. The crime scene technicians, did a full thing. So I never actually directly spoke with anybody other than the responding detectives.
Are the officers back on duty?
I don't know. I let Wyoming know yesterday a little ahead of time about I know they were on administrative leave. I let the Wyoming PD know that I was coming out with this opinion, shared the copy of opinion that I've shared with all of you. So I don't know what their status is at this point in time.
You brought up how this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Unfortunately, in the county, just since January, there have been fatal domestic violence incidents. What do you have for words for people who are going through a situation like that?
Well, yeah, I think the biggest thing is to try and hopefully reach out to do something before. I mean, that's the biggest thing. The domestic violence court that we're working with right now, in terms of the victims get frustrated. And sometimes these cases are hard to prove and proceed against, because a lot of times we don't have this. We don't have body cams. We don't have so many witnesses. The assaults take place in a home with the two of them, and there's not a whole lot of evidence. But I think the biggest thing is to report, keep reporting, get out of the situation. We are resource rich, whether it be Safe Haven, whether it be the YWCA. There are agencies that are out there to help, even if you don't want to make a report. We have victim advocates, a part of the DVAN, the Domestic Violence Action Network, who will work with victims who may not have gone to court. We have advocates in our office that will work with victims, but if people don't want to get involved, there's other advocates that will work with them. So reach out for help, whether it be Safe Haven, the Y, call the hotlines, get out of the situation as best you can before we arrive at a situation like this.
You said you didn't really interview anybody, but how are the do you know how the family's doing since all that?
I really don't. I mean, I got that night. Beyond that, I have not received any reports.
What's the typical turnaround time for a PPO, and was there a barrier that prevented it from being served that day, or is that pretty typical?
Well, from my understanding, they had not filled it out. It wasn't like they had just got the papers to fill out to then return. So they had not had the typical turnaround. It all depends. That's one of the issues we're looking at, is it can be difficult for victims to serve PPOs. There's a cost associated with it. They have a service cost, and so there are barriers to that to get victims to the right people to get those served, and then it's hard to sometimes serve them because if they're transient, they don't know where they are. So that is a difficult thing. That is something that we're trying to figure out. How do you make that simpler for the victims? How do you get those served to get them at least on record that the police can do something if they do show up?
If that had been served, would that have changed the police response? Is there a different dispatch style?
No,
or
I mean, because if you listen to, the whole 911, they were under the assumption there was a PPO. They, because you hear on the call, they say that we got papers that day, so they're kind of proceeding on the assumption, well, there's a PPO in place. I don't think they really ran one at the time because they're just responding, so I don't think it would have changed drastically different. Anything else? Well, since I've got you all here, I do have another announcement that I was not planning, but I did get notice today that this individual was picked up about 2 years ago on Christmas Eve. There's a fatal car accident on US 131. Kathy Lee Hernandez was killed in that car accident. Recently, we finally got information. This was a very involved investigation by the Michigan State Police. We have charged Fernando Ocampo Aguilar with 1 count of second-degree murder, 1 count of operating while intoxicated causing death, 1 count of operating with license suspended causing death, and 1 count of operating while intoxicated, third offense. This, like as I said, it was a Christmas Eve car accident that ended up killing an individual. It took a long time to get. There's basically DNA that we're obtaining for the scene that had to go through that process. We issued this warrant maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago, but I was just informed today that he was picked up on that warrant. So he may be arraigned in the Wyoming District Court today, or for sure tomorrow, I would think, depending on when it was picked up. So since I had everybody here, I figured that was a major enough case. It did get some headlines back in December, obviously Christmas Eve accident that killed somebody, that did get some notoriety, so I wanted to announce that today. So that's all I have, unless you have any other questions. All right, thank you.